years ago, I had no assets to my name, no formal financial background, and not a single clue how to escape paycheck-to-paycheck cycle. I fell behind and honestly a little ashamed of it. And when I got my kids, the last thing I wanted to do is to get back to this 9-to-5 prison. Today, I've built 5 streams of income. Each I started from scratch, and they now afford me complete financial freedom. I could retire tomorrow if I wished, live anywhere I like, and it all began with just few simple steps and a decision to begin. Therefore, I'm going to show you exactly how I did it, step by step. No shortcuts, no overnight success nonsense, just real strategies that actually work for building multiple streams of income that you control, so you can finally buy back your time and build the life you actually want. Yes, I'm going to walk you through exactly how I build these 5 income streams. I'll show you how much or how little you need to invest up front, how long it took before I saw real returns, and just how doable it all is, even if you're starting from zero. And if you're thinking, but I'm in my late 40s, 50s or beyond, is it too late for me? Please hear me out. I started this journey in my 40s and it changed everything for me. Trust me, it's never too late to design a life of freedom, because the only thing standing between you and an extra $1,000 or even $10,000 a month is a few strategic skills that you can absolutely learn. Let's begin with what I believe is the most effortless way to start earning passive income, and it's dividends. Now, if you're not yet familiar, dividends are simply a portion of a company's profits that are shared with its shareholders. When you own a share of stock, even just one, you technically own a small piece of that company, and when that company does well, it often rewards you by paying out part of its profits. What makes dividends so wonderfully appealing is that they are entirely passive, and you can start with as little as $50 by investing each month. At the moment, I'm earning approximately $500 per month from high dividend paying stocks alone. In addition, I've also allocated some funds to physical gold and silver, a few carefully selected ETFs and bonds for balance and long-term security. One of my long-time favorites is British American Tobacco. It's what I call a hidden gem in the dividend world, quietly consistent and often overlooked. They pay dividends quarterly, but in my opinion, they're well worth the wait. And if you're just beginning, you might prefer something with monthly payouts. One I highly recommend is JP Morgan Equity Premium Income ETF. It's a beautifully managed fund that offers broad exposure to large cap US stocks. In the past year alone, they delivered a dividend yield of 9.1%, which is incredibly strong. If that term sounds unfamiliar, dividend yield simply means the percentage of your investment returned to you as income each year based on the price you pay for the stock. Now, you may be wondering, how do I find the right dividend paying stocks, especially if I don't have a background in investing? Well, if you're just getting started like I was not so long ago, one of the safest and simplest path is to invest in index funds or ETFs. These funds allow you to invest in broad collection of well-established companies without needing to research every single stock individually. And if you want to try something reasonable, go for SP 500, and honestly, that's one of the easiest ways to start your investment journey with very low risk involved. Now, the second passive income stream that completely changed the game for me, one that I consider both powerful and deeply creative, is selling digital products. A digital product is basically anything you can sell online that doesn't require shipping. Think PDFs, templates, planners, ebooks, cheat sheets, or even beautifully designed printables. They're sent by the cloud, delivered instantly, and require no physical inventory whatsoever. And here's the most encouraging part. I didn't even create my first digital product until I was well into my late 30s. I had no design background, no technical expertise, just an idea and the willingness to learn. You can use free and intuitive platforms like Canva or even Microsoft Publisher to design something simple and elegant, whether it's a recipe collection, a daily planner, a digital art bundle, or financial tracker, or anything else you feel inspired to share. And when it comes to selling them, you have options. Lots of them, in fact. I personally use a mix of platforms like Gumroad, Standstore, Etsy, and Amazon. Each with its own unique audience and benefits. For example, on Amazon, I've published a number of books, including a practical guide to real estate investing under 10,000 K, Budget Like a Millionaire, available in hardcover right now, and a handful of charming children's books, as well as some coloring books. Yes, that's how I started. I'll leave the links to those below if you'd like to take a peek or draw some inspiration. But here's what most people don't tell you about digital products. It's probably the most passive way to earn money that I can think of all the ones that I'm talking about in this video. When you make a digital product, you put all the work up front. Yes, it's a lot of work, especially if you make a course. You spend days, maybe weeks, maybe even months creating just one digital product. But once it's done, it's done. You can sell that same product over and over again without lifting another finger. Imagine this: someone on the other side of the world clicks a button, purchases your product, and receives it instantly while you sleep, travel, or spend time with your family. That's the magic of digital assets. You create something once, and if marketed well, it can sell 100 times, 1,000 times, or even a million times without you having to package, print, or ship a single thing. If you're curious about how to begin, I've created several in-depth videos all about building your passive income, so do take a moment to explore those if you're ready to start designing your own passive income stream. If you're finding value in this video so far, and if these insights are sparking ideas for your own path to early retirement, may I ask you a small favor? Simply tap the like button. It truly helps this video reach more aspiring people who are ready to design a life of freedom and purpose. And if you haven't already, I'd be delighted to have you subscribe to the channel and join this beautiful community we're building together. The next stream of income I've built, and one that's particularly close to my heart, is one-on-one coaching and personal finance mentoring. And here's the truth: I didn't step into this role until I was in my 40s, but after building multiple income streams for myself and reaching a certain level of financial peace, I began asking a deeper question: how can I help others do the same? And that's when I realized what I've learned over the years had value, real value, a kind of wisdom that could empower someone else to change their entire financial reality, and the one that I'd love to have when I was starting out. So I began sharing it personally through one-on-one strategy sessions. I use Stan Store to offer these services, an incredibly user-friendly platform that makes it seamless to package and share your expertise with the world. I'll leave a link in the description down below if you'd like to explore it for yourself. Now, here's something I'd love for you to remember. If you do something really well, if you've mastered a skill, cultivated talent, or overcome a challenge, you can teach others how to do the same. You don't have to be an expert. You have your perspective, your trial and error, and lots of learnings along the way. And there is someone out there right now searching for the exact knowledge and experience you've built over the years. You can share that through courses, digital classes, or if you enjoy more personal connection, coaching and mentoring, just as I do. And yes, I do earn some income through these sessions because they require my time and attention. But more than that, it's deeply fulfilling. It's a service. It's an impact. Well, let's move on to my next income stream, and that's YouTube. What I absolutely love about YouTube is this: every video you create becomes a digital asset, a little piece of online real estate that's once published continues to work for you day and night. For instance, I have videos I uploaded months ago that still receive views, still bring new people into my world, and they likely continue to do so for years to come. This particular channel is fairly new, only about 3 months old, but it's not my first one. In fact, I began my YouTube journey back in 2015 with beauty and fashion channel. It did really well. I created around 100 videos, grew a lovely audience, but as my life evolved, having my children, building my real estate portfolio, and naturally shifting into new passions, I felt the need to pivot. The topics no longer lit me up, and I eventually unlisted all of those videos and closed that channel for good. So technically, I've been on YouTube for nearly a decade. What that experience taught me is this: YouTube is a long game, but an incredibly rewarding one. The most common ways creators earn from YouTube is through Google AdSense. That's the revenue YouTube shares with you when ads are shown on your videos. Brands are willing to pay a premium for visibility, and you, as the creator, are offering that space, curated, intentional, and aligned with your audience. Naturally, the more views you receive, the more potential earnings you unlock. And yes, some content creators are earning six figures and beyond from ad revenue alone. But let me be honest with you, this isn't passive in the beginning. You will be creating consistently. You will be showing up without being paid for your time. But what makes this worthwhile is the perspective shift. You're not just filming videos, you're building a timeless library of value, a legacy of your voice, your message, and your expertise. And that will continue to serve others while quietly earning for you in the background. If you're willing to invest the time and lead with authenticity, YouTube can become not just an income source, but a truly empowering platform for influence, impact, and long-term wealth. Finally, let's talk about the most traditional, but still one of the most powerful sources of income I have: rental properties. Before you say, "Oh, I don't have the money for that," I want you to pause and stay with me, because I'm going to show you two incredibly simple ways you can step into real estate business, even if you're only able to invest $10 a month, truly. But first, let me share how I got started. I purchased my first flat when I was 34. It wasn't an investment. It was simply a place to live. That was a big learning curve for me, as I did it all by myself from start to finish. A few years later, when I've got my kids, and when most people might choose to upgrade their lifestyle to a larger home or something flashier, I made a completely different decision. Instead of buying a house, I chose to invest in property. I saved with intention. I cut back where I could, and eventually I purchased my first rental flat, a modest one-bedroom in a small town. I cleaned it, refreshed it with paint, added some modern touch to it, and before I knew it, I had a tenant who moved in almost immediately. That was a few years ago, and this apartment still provides consistent income today. Now the question is it 100% passive? Well, I wouldn't say so. In fact, I'd even say that it's one of the top energy draining sources. There are always responsibilities, but I've learned so much along the way. And what I've discovered is this: you can absolutely start small, and you don't need to wait until everything is perfect. Now, if you're thinking that all sounds wonderful, but I don't have the savings for a property deposit just yet, you are not alone. And most importantly, you are not without options. There are indeed ways to finance smaller properties with a modest mortgage, even if you're not rolling in cash. But if you're not quite ready for that step, allow me to introduce two incredibly accessible alternatives that require only a small initial investment and no hands-on management at all. The first is something called a REIT, a real estate investment trust. Think of it like buying shares in a company that owns and manages income-generating properties. Think shopping centers, apartment buildings, and even offices. REITs are traded on major stock markets and often pay out reliable dividends to investors. It's a beautiful way to gain exposure to the real estate market, even if you're not ready or willing to become a landlord. The second, well, crowdfunded real estate investing, my personal favorite for beginners. Platforms like Fundrise allow you to take part in financial real estate development projects with as little as $10 to start. It's truly remarkable. You can earn returns passively while letting experienced professionals manage the heavy lifting. It's simple, and yes, it works. And if you do have savings and want to buy a physical property, here's my tip for you: don't overlook small towns. In Sweden, for instance, one can buy a house with land for less than $40,000. In Germany and Portugal, a flat under $100,000. It's always important to do your research first. And if I see signs that shops, schools, parks, or new transport links are coming to the area, those are your green flags. They often point to a future demand and, more importantly, good quality tenants. Real estate doesn't have to be intimidating. It just takes patience, a touch of courage, and a willingness to start small and smart. But hear me out, none of this works unless you first shift your money mindset. And I'll be honest with you, it took me nearly a decade to fully understand how to invest in real estate wisely. I made mistakes, I learned through trial and error, but you don't have to. If real estate is something you've always been curious about, if you'd love to start building your wealth through properties, but don't know where to start, I've created something just for you to save you years and money. The practical guide to real estate investing under $10,000. Inside, I share everything I've learned, including REITs, partner investing, Airbnb hacks, financing strategies, and so much more. Instead of spending years figuring it out all by yourself, making costly mistakes and losing money, you can simply take what I've discovered and start applying it today. You'll find the link in the description box down below. And there you have it, best passive income sources to quit your 9 to 5. To learn more on how to build passive income, click on this video right here.